This video will contain lots of spoilers for Go-Go Loser Ranger or Ranger Reject up to the current chapters of the manga. Today, we're talking about the pretty one. Actually, all of the Rangers are pretty in their own way, so who am I to just call one of them pretty? This time we're talking about Sesera Sakurama, the Pink Dragon Keeper, and doing a deeper dive into her character up into the current arc in the manga, just like we did in the last video about Sosei. Because we know that she was 13 in her flashback, it's safe to say that Sesera is around 22 or 25 or so years old now. She has orangish hair and shares the same green eyes as her brother, Hibiki. When suited up, she wears pink lipstick and lets her long hair flow out from the helmet, and when not suited up, she wears a basic ranger outfit and uses a wheelchair to get around because her legs were crushed. Sesera is one of the Dragon Keepers who I feel like we don't know nearly enough about, while being probably the one we have seen the most through her ties to other characters like her own battalion, as well as Hibiki and by extension D. I do want to give you a heads up now though, in this video I won't be talking about the previous Pink Keeper or the Kurokos. I'll be saving that for a future Pink Battalion video that will likely come later after the other ones, because the current arc is very Pink focused, so I don't want to shoot myself in the foot and talk about a lot of outdated things, but back to Sesera for now. Sesera, like all the other Dragon Keepers, besides I guess Chidori, are all clearly imperfect people one way or another. Neki doesn't hold back when it comes to painting a great picture with showing many problematic elements in his story or in any of his characters. The Rangers are all interesting in different ways, so while Red is clearly a psycho, along with Blue, Yellow is Yellow on his mad scientist stuff, and Green is pretty chill and lovable, but Pink is really just a mixed bag. When we first meet Sesera in chapter 1, it's part of the usual Sunday battle, and after D takes a blast from their new weapon for the show, D decides it's time to change things up, and Pink points out that a foot soldier acting out is really bad, and she tells D that he still has time to get out of there. Later on, when D manages to steal Sosei's Dragon Tool and calls for backup, Sesera also notices that it's the same foot soldier from the other day, while Red just says he can never remember them. After this, D actually manages to get away with Red's tool and a banquet is held to discuss what comes next. While Himura is trying to take over the Red Keeper role, Sesera tries to step in and say, "This isn't the time, we've got an emergency to deal with." Besides removing a major part of the power the Rangers hold, maybe Sesera could have also been thinking that the Dragon Tool could have possibly been passed off to an executive or something. But after the banquet where Red kills his JFC, Sesera and Nadeshiko approach Suzukiri, who was also a witness to what Red did, and invited her to talk about what happened, but Suzukiri guessed that Sesera just wanted to see her brother, since Suzukiri and Hibiki seem to have some sort of relationship as they've been seen together multiple times early on. Before meeting with D as her brother, we see a glimpse of Pink Keeper's duties, which consists of shooting commercials for beauty products, which she does not have a passion for at all. It's clear that she has other reasons for being in the Rangers, and she's not in it for the fame. I'll be doing a bit more hopping around in this video, and that leads to the first thing people probably think of or remember when it comes to Pink, which is her obsession with her brother. And usually stuff like a brother or sister complex comes off as cringy, and characters written like that are often disliked, but Sesera is a lot more complex than simply being a cute girl who's deeply obsessed with her brother. Like I said, we see a ton of her story through flashbacks, and early on we learn about her shared past with her brother Hibiki, along with her family and Peltrola, the executive. Back in the day, when the war was fresh, Sesera was a confident, strong-willed teenager and took pride in her athleticism and ability to think for herself. Normally this would be a good thing, but her family was a problem. They were members of the Invader Church, which was pretty much brainwashing people into believing that the Invaders were gods and, not so bad, and attended rallies to disband the Rangers and give the Invaders rights. But Sesera didn't get wrapped up in all of that like everyone else did. She was old enough to think for herself, and she tried to get her brother Hibiki to do the same, until it was too late and they were faced by the executive Peltrola in a church full of dead bodies, their parents included, and when he noticed them, he went to kill them too. Sesera does manage to push Hibiki out of the way, but she ends up with her legs crushed under rubble and begs her brother to run while he still can. Instead, he defends her though, getting in between her and Peltrola even though there was no way for both of them to survive. Luckily, at the last second, they're both saved by the current Blue Keeper at the time and taken into his orphanage, but this moment where a younger brother was willing to stand up against a god to keep her safe was the start of her obsession. To our knowledge, the next event that led her to become the way she is was shown to us much later in the manga, when we get to see her own personal flashback at the orphanage, and she has somewhat gained the ability to walk again and believes that she'll one day run, but Aoshima, the current Blue Keeper, tries to get her to snap back to reality to save her from any more pain by telling her to give up, saying she would never be able to stand again. Sometime later we see Sesera has refused to give up, and she's trying to walk outside in the snow, and a young Tokita tells her to give it up also, tripping pushing her so that she falls in the snow and telling her to stop doing pointless things. As she lays there, she reflects and she thinks that she's lost everything until she hears her brother Hibiki attacking Tokita, screaming at him to leave his sister alone and that her legs will heal. From here, you can say Sesera thought very highly of her brother as a hero, and to the point of possibly worshiping him later on when you see that she has pillowcases with him on it and even says she wants to snap a picture of him to pray to it every morning. It's unknown how Sesera was given the opportunity to become a ranger, but at some point she was taken into the ranger organization by the Kurokos and asked Hibiki if he still liked the rangers. He says that he will become a dragon keeper one day, and she promises that she'll never let that happen as she leaves with the Black Hoods. Like I said, it's unknown how this event came to happen, but I'll assume Aoshima had something to do with her getting recruited after the previous Pink Keeper had died. Maybe he put in a good word for her after seeing how determined she was to stand proudly again and knowing how deep her hatred for invaders ran. He could have possibly given her a recommendation so that she can get the dragon tool and be able to walk again due to the healing properties of the boots. It's clear that the main reason Sesera joined the Rangers was to protect her brother in two ways, one by killing invaders and the other by hopefully having enough pull to keep him from joining them. This act of Sesera joining the Rangers is her way of shielding her brother from the dangers of the world the same way he shielded her those 2 times in the past. In the present day, Sesera meets with D as Hibiki, not knowing they've swapped places, and continues to urge him to quit the Rangers now that he's a cadet, but she can't help but be proud of him whenever she realizes how much he's grown, how determined he looks after surviving the Balong exam. Speaking of Balong, Pink makes an appearance while Peltrola is running amok, and she thanks him before kicking him into orbit. Sesera has a deep hatred for invaders, and during the meeting with the IRA, she's the first to remove her helmet to show how serious she is and also how serious the invader threat is. She tells the world on live TV that they will stomp out the invaders to the point where the thought of revenge becomes impossible, and reveals that her family were members of the invader church all those years ago, telling everyone her family was killed and that she would never stop killing invaders for the safety of her family and the world. We know by family she means Hibiki, and later on when she's fighting Walipon in the 3-way battle arc, she comes into contact with her now deformed brother, unable to tell who he is as he's begging his sister to heal a wounded Hekaru. Instead, she focuses on killing Walipon, who had turned and started walking away, actually saying that he would allow her to heal him, but she cannot forgive invaders no matter what. Sesera has relationships with several other characters too. The first I wanted to mention really quick, but I really like that she doesn't hold a grudge against Tokita. Back in the day, he kicked her when she was down and told her to give up on her dream, but during the second Ranger banquet, she actually praised him for getting back part of Red's tool and asked why Sosei didn't make him JFC. This at least shows that she doesn't hate him and instead kept all that energy focused on invaders. Her battalion is head over heels for her in a way that we haven't seen any other battalion adore their dragon keepers, and when she later gets severely injured, it causes conflict within the battalion when talks about who would replace her start happening. It would appear that Green and Pink battalion have a good relationship. Like I said earlier, after Red's, I'll say, outburst during the banquet, Sesera and Nadeshiko approach Suzukiri to invite her to a meeting with Green so they can discuss Sosei's actions. Pink and Green battalion members are also often seen being friendly with each other. It's not clear who all knows Chidori's secret of being the Green Keeper, but when D helps get the cops off his back, Sesera and Chidori both look at each other in a way that's super obvious that they know each other, kind of like a silent nod, and I imagine at the time they both also knew D was already going to Green. Near the end of the 3-way battle arc, Sesera finally realizes who Hibiki is through their connection shared by having the same eyes, and she sacrifices herself to heal him and takes incredible damage. But because of where we are currently in the manga, it's a little tough to talk further about Sesera because she's kind of in a coma right now. There are still mysteries that will hopefully be revealed very soon, such as what dark things she had to do to be taken in by the Kurokos and if she will wake up. But for now, I think that's gonna just about cover it for Pink Keeper. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Sorry it took so long for the next one. I've been sick lately, but there's more on the way, including other Dragon Keeper videos, and I'll also be talking about each individual battalion individually too. Drop a comment or hit me up on Twitter if you want to chat. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.